He is Todd Gordon, president of the Wisconsin Marine Historical Society. You've been a long-time enthusiast of all things Great Lakes and maritime, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You have even more accolades. Now you're a former scuba diver, so you've been down in the waters,
Yes.
up close, a UW Milwaukee graduate, and I love that we just can't keep you from working. So you've been working at We Energies, but then retired again with your wife, Kathy, and you've managed the Port Washington 1860 Light Station, and you have just a wealth of knowledge about shipwrecks in the Great Lakes. But wait a minute, you're also on the board of the Association for Great Lakes Maritime History and a member of the Advisory Council for the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary.
Yes.
That's a lot of knowledge. So I'm very confident that you are officially an expert when it comes to maritime history, and you are the right person to share maybe some unknown or unremembered facts about the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. So first and foremost, with the 50th anniversary of this terrible tragedy and mystery on Lake Superior, can you share the story briefly of what happened to the SS Edmund Fitzgerald on November 10th, 1975?
November 10th, 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald was finishing up the season. November is notorious for being rough on the lakes. But when you're in the shipping business, you need to get as many loads as possible. And the Edmund Fitzgerald was very good at what she was doing. So they had over in 17-year history, had over 700 trips with loads of iron ore that came over to various foundries and steel mills in Lake Erie. But on November 10th, 1975, they predicted there was going to be some bad weather, but nobody predicted it to be as bad as it became. As usual, Mother Nature the wind can shift and it kicks up the sea to horrendous heights. So it was on its way back to deliver over 26,000 tons of iron ore, and they call them long tons.
Wow. I mean, that means it's a big, heavy vessel.
It was a 729-foot vessel, but I always get a little confused. 26,000 sounds like a lot of weight.
Yes, it does.
But a long ton is actually 2,240 pounds per ton. That came out to 58,500,000 pounds of iron ore.
Oh. You've done the math there. That really puts it in perspective, yeah.
That puts it in a little different perspective. You say, 26,000 tons, that's a lot, but it's a big ship.
Wow.
No. So they were out in this horrible storm. The storm knocked out their navigation, so they didn't have any radar. Their communication was still working, but they had a ship following them called the Anderson, and they were in communication with that ship as they were making their way, hopefully, to safe harbor at Whitefish Point. And they wwere in communication telling them that they were listing, which is not a good thing on a 729-foot ship. Listing mean it was tipping one way.
Okay.
It means it's taking on water. But they were doing okay. The ship behind them had radar and was helping them guide the way to get to the safe harbor. And the last communication that they had from them was, "We're holding our own," from the ship's captain, Captain McSorley.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing the Anderson reported was it wasn't on the radar anymore. So it sank.
It just disappeared?
It disappeared from radar, which means it sank so fast that he didn't even have time to put a mayday out. So 29 members of the crew, including the captain, all disappeared to the bottom of Lake Superior in a little over 500 feet of water. So it's a 729-foot ship. So if it was standing on end, it would be sticking out of the water. It broke in two, but they didn't know precisely what happened to it at the time. The Anderson that was following it made it to safe harbor, but he had already reported to the Coast Guard that it was missing. The Coast Guard instructed him to go back out and look for survivors in that horrendous storm, and he did it.
Wow.
Captain Cooper, very heroic to go out into that storm, and he even made a comment to the Coast Guard that I might not make it back. But he did. They found debris, but the ship was gone. And it took about another day or two for the Navy to fly over it with and determine that it was sunk and where the location was by magnetic readings from from an airplane.
Wow. That's incredible, Todd.
Horrible, horrible. And a ship that size, built in 1958, that was unheard of. So this is still, to this day, the longest ship ever sunk in the Great Lakes, ever.
And we'll be commemorating this on Monday, on the actual anniversary. I'm with Wisconsin Marine Historical Society President Todd Gordon. And when we come back, now that you know the story from an expert in maritime history, I'm so glad you're here. We'll find out how this is being commemorated on Monday, and also some unique Wisconsin connections to Edmund Fitzgerald himself and the vessel. Stay with us on What's on Tap. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot is based on a true tragedy that happened on Lake Superior. And with me in the WTMJ studio, Wisconsin Marine Historical Society President Todd Gordon. Todd, thank you for relating and reminding everyone just what a tragedy and mystery the sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald was almost 50 years ago, November 10th, 1975. And I say mystery, but you've clarified with all the knowledge that we've gotten over these past 50 years. But for a massive vessel like that to have disappeared in minutes off of the radar from the ship behind it, and lose all 29 crew members, it's really jarring. And to know that there are at least two tributes that are happening on Monday, November 10th that you are part of. One is at the Cooperage in Milwaukee.
The other one is at Lightfish Point on the north shore of Lake Superior. And that museum was actually built because of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So it's kind of the memorial location for the shipwreck. And years later in the 1990s, they actually removed the original Edmund Fitzgerald bell, and it's in that museum. And
what an artifact!
Yes, and they replaced it with a bell of exact duplicate of it with all the names of the crew members as a memorial. And basically, the Edmund Fitzgerald is now a cemetery for those 29 crew members. And now the bell, which is in the museum at Lightfish Point, every year they have a family event, family only, at the exact time that they determined was the sinking, which was 7:10 Eastern time, because it was in Michigan, technically. So they have a ringing of the bell for each crew member. They read the name, and then usually a member of the family comes up and rings the bell for each one of them.
How profound, how meaningful. So I'm sure that will be meaningful again on Monday. And then 29 bells, a 50th commemoration of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald and her crew is going to happen at the Cooperage. But you and I were talking as you were coming in, that's already sold out.
It's sold out.
Over 200 people want to be there for this piece of history and to learn even more.
Well, we're happy to see Milwaukee so interested because of the deep roots that we have with Edmund Fitzgerald. Edmund Fitzgerald, at the time the ship was built, was the president and CEO of Northwestern Mutual Insurance Company, Northwestern Mutual Life, and they named the ship after him, actually against his will, but he reluctantly agreed to have the ship named after him. It was actually launched from where it was built by his wife, and the champagne bottle from that, the remnants of it, because she broke the bottle, but we have the top part of the bottle is in the library, second floor, right across from the humanities room.
Inside which building?
The Central Museum, Milwaukee Public Museum on 8th and Wisconsin.
That's fantastic. Again, what an artifact. And why do you name a vessel after someone?
It's because of his family history, his 1800s family history. He had Fitzgerald brothers, 6 of them that were all ship captains on the Great Lakes. His great-grandfather had a ship named after him, the W.E. Fitzgerald. So it was an honor to be chosen to have a vessel named after you. So they wanted to do it for Edmund Fitzgerald because he had done so much for the community. And on his 65th birthday, they actually gave him a model, a 4-foot model of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which he had in his office during his time at Northwestern Mutual. When he passed away, his son, Edmund Bacon Fitzgerald, took the model and he kept it in his office. When he passed away, he told his son that it needed to be donated to the Wisconsin Marine Historical Society, and it's on display at the Central Library, 8th and Wisconsin Avenue, on the second floor in the humanities room. We built a special cabinet to display it.
I think you should. What a piece of history. Todd Gordon, I could talk to you all night, and I know other people would love to know more and more. As the president of the Wisconsin Marine Historical Society, is the website just the best way to keep up with more events and more history?
Yes, WMHS.org.
Thank you, Todd, and I wish you a wonderful time connecting with fellow history buffs and maritime enthusiasts during all the commemorations of the 50th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Well, thank you for having me.